Welcome back to the MiniBrute Cookbook tutorial series. I'll figure out a title for all this eventually, one of these days. But for today, what we're doing is the Strummed String. It looks like this. All right. Another, I wouldn't say it's terribly complicated, but, you know, there's nothing super fancy going on, but, you know, we'll talk about it as usual. There we go. All right, so first things first, as always, go back to a patch with nothing going on. So we'll turn everything off, put everything back to how it was. I'll turn you off. That's fine. I like that. Yeah, it looks good. Okay, nothing's happening again, as usual. So let's get an oscillator going. Woo, way too high. That's gooder. Okay, well, it's a strummed string, so probably gonna go like a middle range here. All right, so we got our oscillator going. Now let's change it up. So we have put some pulse width modulation on it. You hear what that's doing? It's just extending the length of the width of the square wave itself. All right, next we're going to. Okay, so here's what's going to happen here. Okay, we're going to do this on a more linear fashion here. All right, this is our basic sound. VCO1 is doing, like, that's the basics of what's happening here. So what we're going to do is we're going to use VCO2 to basically use VCO2 to modulate how the filter is going to work. Here's how this is going to happen. We're going to use VCO2, but we're going to put it down into LFO mode, okay? We're going to put the wave on the saw wave, all right? Then we're going to patch the output of VCO2 into the input for the cutoff, the attenuator one that is pre-routed to go to the cutoff filter, cutoff of the filter, right? We turn that up. We can hear it doing stuff. Now we turn that filter down so that it has more room to move. There we go. Now we have the filter actually doing some stuff here. Now, what if that's happening too quickly? Well, it is. So what do we want it to do? Well, we want to use the attack and decay envelope into the pitch. And what this is going to do is let us control how long that stays plucked. And as you can hear, it doesn't quite sound right because we need to be in triggered mode. Now, if we go back to the recipe for a second, if you look at just strummed string, you're like, well, that's kind of like, I mean, yeah, it's there, but we're kind of like missing something, right? Well, sort of, except that if we use the AD envelope and turn it up, then we get this kind of rolling decay sort of thing, right? Simulates the simultaneous strumming of several picks at once. That's what the cookbook says, so. Whoops. What is out? This is Dr. Mario. Something like that. That's kind of how it goes. Anyway. So now what can we do to make this more interesting? Well, the first obvious thing we can do is adjust our LFO 1, which affects our pulse width modulation, right? Since we already have pulse width modulation going on, we use a little bit more. or we have the pulse width. We are modulating the width of the pulse with the LFO1. This affects how much we're modulating the width of the pulse. This is how much of the pulse we're actually moving it, extending it. This is how much we're moving that in one direction or the other. Now, of course, if we use the we can use the attack with the decay, the envelope, to change characteristics about it. Another thing I like to do, well, with this tune, with this patch in particular, so we're going to take the we'll take LFO2, okay, into the amplitude 2 modulator, or I'm sorry, the attenuator 2. Then we'll take and put that into the decay of the amplitude modulation, AD envelope, attack decay envelope, right? And now, the problem is, I'll do sample and hold here, a little bit faster. As you can hear, it just kind of keeps going. So what we have to do is we have to actually take the amplitude and just bypass it from the the attenuator 2 amplitude. And so you can just leave that one hanging off on its own. It's going to be fine. Doing that just dumps voltage into a I think it just dumps the voltage into a ground so that it doesn't backfeed on itself. But that way you don't have the attenuator 2 making the sound play when you don't want it to. But the thing is, you only have so much room to work with within that. You know, LFO is trying to move the decay around, and if the decay goes below a certain level, then it doesn't really it kind of gets cut off, you know. Which you can, of course, bypass that issue by switching to loop instead of once, so it just kind of keeps going. Or you can do gate. Which can be kind of fun. Give it a little brute factor just for a little character, I guess. And the beginning of that kind of sounds like that. It sounds like getting hurt in a Mario game, like a Nintendo game. There you go. There's some fun things you can do. That's the Strummed String. You can have some fun with that one. It's a real interesting one. Real goofy, real weird. But, you know, it's an interesting concept that you can have a lot of fun with. So play around with it. Experiment. See what you come up with. As always, have fun. Bye.